I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. Well, today's goal is to put up some paneling on this wall and get some shelving up. We'll see just how far we get. Well, I have one panel up and one shelf up. I'm going to be able to get rid of most of the stuff that's laying on the bench. And the plan is to move the bench back into that corner. So if I can get that done this afternoon, I'm going to call it good. Well, almost got the workbench back in the corner. The workbench is going to go back in that corner on the far left. Then the forge will go in the middle of the remaining wall. I want to have it about a step. I want to turn around and have a step to the vise. Maybe half a step to the vise. The reason for that is it prevents you from just standing and twisting at your hips. When you stand and twist at your hips, you screw up your back. You want to move your feet. You want to actually pick up your feet and turn around. So you take something hot out of the fire, you want to put it in the vise, you pick it up, you turn around by moving your feet, clamp it in the vise, do the work that you need to do, and you're still close enough that you can just take a couple of steps and walk over and put it into the heat again. The anvil is going to sit just at the end of the forge. I want to have enough walkway to walk through there and stand and do some work so that I'm about 2 steps from the forge. That way, once again, I'm not standing there and then turning and working on the anvil and just turning at my hips. It's a sure way to back problems. Well, I don't know if you can see it in my face, but I'm extremely hot. It's humid today. It's not so much hot. It's probably in the 80s, but the humidity's way up. So it's like a tea kettle. Got the shelf up, got the shelf loaded, which is a good way to get the bench unloaded. Put stuff up there because when you got a flat space right next to the door, everything lands on it. So I'm going to try and avoid having flat spaces sitting right next to the door. Now I will have the table saw out here at the front so that I can saw something on it and have the wood go back into the shop a little bit. But I'll still have to open the doors to really do anything large. And I'm going to have the back of the table saw facing the big doors so that as I push it through, it goes outside. Now, wintertime, I'm probably going to have to fiddle around with it and make some changes. But that's the goal right now. So I'll have the table saw about 2 or 3 feet inside the shed, just about where I'm standing right now. And I think I'm going to have it on wheels. Come to think of it, I'm going to put it on wheels. Definitely going to put it on casters. Put 4 locking casters underneath it and widen that base out a bit so that it's a little sturdier. That way I can wheel it over in the corner when I'm not using it, because I don't use a table saw that much. Wouldn't have got it if it wasn't $25. It's just too good a deal to pass up. I'm going to have another shelf underneath that one, over the top of the workbench, because I don't do that much tall stuff on top of the workbench. So coming down another foot underneath the upper shelf and putting a shorter shelf will make it so that I can store more stuff in there. I'm going to have shelves on the back wall because the vise bench goes clear up into the corner. It's going to be tucked right into the corner. And of course I got the hammers hanging over there, which is probably the wrong spot to have them. I might be better off moving that rack over to this wall so it'd be over the vise bench, but we'll just have to see. Because typically you're not going to be running over and grabbing a hammer as you're forging. You're going to have the hammers laid out that you're going to be using. Probably sitting on the, don't know if you can see this with all the other junk on top of it, but that tree trunk there is pretty good size and it makes a nice table on this side. I work off of this side of it because I'm right-handed, and that puts the horn on my right hand. And I set everything on top of the thing where that big rock's sitting. The big rock that's going to be turned into a grindstone if I can make it work. Well, enough talking. I got to get back to work. I got a bench to move. Apologize for the poor sound on I apologize for the poor sound on the camera. I'm using the Nikon because when I brought out the Canon last time, it got bumped and it got knocked to the ground. Dropping that far off the tripod onto the ground, I broke the ultraviolet lens, which is the protective lens that goes on the front of the telephoto. And it did its job. It died to save the camera. But I'm a little concerned that I'm going to drop that camera and break it to the point where it doesn't work. I'm going to leave that down in the shop, and I'll use this little camera, which it's fallen off the tripod a few times too, but I have a spare Nikon. I don't have a spare Canon, and I don't want to drop $1,200 worth of camera on the ground or bust another $600 worth of lens. So we're going to work with this one.